Good morning and welcome. My name is Reverend John Turner, and I'm very honored to be invited to speak at the Arizona Buddhist Temple special Obon Service on Sunday, June 12th. I wanted to first thank Reverend Gibbs and Reverend Sugiyama for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak to you. First, I'd like to begin with Gassho and a short reading. The Three Treasures. How rare and wondrous it is to have been born into human life, and now I live it. How rare and wondrous it is to be able to listen to the Buddha Dharma, and now I am able to hear it. If I do not transcend the world of delusion in this life, when will I ever attain spiritual liberation? May I, along with the entire Sangha, with sincere heart and mind, rely on that which can truly be relied on in life, the Three Treasures. I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the great path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration, which is to become Buddha. I rely on the Dharma. May I, along with all sentient beings, deeply reflect on the meaning of the sutras and gain wisdom that is as deep and vast as the ocean. I rely on the Sangha. May I, along with all sentient beings, become one Sangha of life, able to move forward and live with a dynamic spirit that is hindered by nothing. The unsurpassed, deep, and wondrous Dharma, even in millions of kalpas, is extremely difficult to encounter, but now I am able to experience and embrace it. May I come to understand and revere the true meaning of the Tathagata. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. So, thank you very much. We'll get back to this selected reading later in my talk, especially the first vow to rely on the Buddha with one's entire being and achieve the highest aspiration. So for my talk today, I'm going to dip into the Marvel universe. I don't know a lot about it. My daughter and her partner are experts. We're going to feature Thor's hammer. I think that's on the left, and Hercules' mace on the right. And this comic is kind of cute. It says, my hammer against your mace, we shall see which is the stronger. I've never yet tasted defeat, nor shall I now. And then on the side, there's a woman who says, no, they mustn't fight over me. If one of them should be hurt or worse. And then the owner of the store says, never mind that. Does my store insurance cover damage by immortals? So we'll find out why we're going to focus on this hammer and this mace moving forward. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about Obon and the meaning of Obon. I wanted to show you two of my favorite pictures. This is one from the Vista Buddhist Temple, dancing outdoors in the daylight. And this is a picture that my daughter took late at night. I think Obon was winding down. The second dance session was over, and she was able to get this wonderful sunset with the lights over our temple. So, Obon is a very special time. We come together in person as a Sangha, and we dance together. And dancing is something very important. You lose your sense of self. You focus on the moment. You're spontaneous. And best of all, you're focused on your body and your movement. And so we'll talk about both of these things, dancing and this focused joy of the mind when we participate in this type of festival. So the Obon festival originates from the Buddhist Ulambana Sutra. The word Obon is a shortened form of the word Ulambana. Ulam has the Sanskrit meaning of hanging upside down, which implies great suffering. Bana has the meaning of to be rescued. So we have to be rescued from hanging upside down. And the worst part of this is we don't know we're hanging upside down, right? We think we see the world correctly, and it's the world that's upside down. There's something wrong with the world. But from the Buddhist tradition, we're upside down, but we blame others. And this realization is being rescued, and we begin to see things right side up. So this goes all the way back to the Buddha. The main character in the Ulambana Sutra is Moggallana, here on the lower right. And he is one of the two main disciples of the Buddha. Sariputra was the other. And Sariputra and Moggallana were really good friends. One focused more on doctrine, learning, reading, and listening. And Moggallana focused more on intuition and practice. And so they had different ways of practicing Buddhism, but they shared a deep understanding and a very deep friendship. And then this is one of my favorite images. This is an image of Moggallana. He has what I call the Mona Lisa smile. He is slightly upturned lips, eyes half closed, realizing that enlightenment is so simple. You just have to realize that you're hanging upside down. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be aware. And so the Ulambana Sutra talks about Moggallana's mother passes away, and Moggallana is in deep sorrow and grief, worried that his mother never fully converted to Buddhism and was never as devout as he was. And he'd always hoped that his mother would be just a little bit more serious about Buddhism. But it turns out he was looking at it upside down and all wrong. So the question is, in this story, is who is actually hanging upside down? Is it the son rescuing the mother? Or is it that always has been the mother rescuing the son? It turns out that the mother had devoted her life to her son and his pursuits of Buddhism, and that she was a bodhisattva for him. And he had never looked at it this way because he was looking at things upside down. So after his mother's death, Moggallana was tormented because she was not as devout a Buddhist as he had hoped she would be. He was embarrassed by her and felt that he should have been able to have a greater influence upon her. After self-reflection, Moggallana realized that he had it backwards. It was his mother's profound influence on him that enabled him to become one of the Buddha's greatest disciples. For the first time in his life, he realized that she was the bodhisattva that had led him to the Buddhist path. At that moment, he spontaneously began dancing with joy. So when we dance with joy at our Obon festival, we're mimicking and reliving and acting out this story. And so we all dance with joy at Obon. And dancing and joy are major metaphors for Shinran Shonin, the founder of our tradition as well. So Shinran also frequently uses the analogy of dancing with joy, having a mind as if you're dancing for joy, that state of mind. The phrase dancing with joy appears in the collected works 9 times, each time describing the same overwhelming joy that occurs when one realizes insight, spontaneous, focused realization. That is a feeling, a mind, in a sense, that is dancing with joy. The following also appears to be one of Shinran's favorite quotes from the larger sutra. It appears in the collected works 4 times. The Buddha said to Maitreya, "If there are persons who, having heard the name of the Buddha, leap and dance with joy and say of it even one time, know that they receive the great benefit, that is, they acquire unexcelled virtues." So receiving unexcelled virtues is called meritless merit, effortless merit. You receive merit that is unwarranted. It's a gift. So in our tradition, we often use the phrase shinjin. And I've heard a report recently that there was a feeling that not enough ministers talk about shinjin. And I think we talk about it a lot, but I think sometimes we just use it and we assume everybody understands its meaning. And I've always found it a hard word or a hard term to really grasp. So I went and found the kanji for us to look at today. So this first character is shin. And the second character is also shin, but we pronounce it jin because it's hard to say shin. It's kind of a tongue twister. So in practice, when this is pronounced, it's pronounced shinjin. And then in the first character, there's two radicals. The one on the left is the radical or picture for a man or a woman or a person. And then the next one is the radical for words or language. So one way you could think of Shin is having confidence in a man's words or a man's teachings, that type of confidence. We have a confidence in our family and our friends and our teachers by the words they say and the language they use. We have confidence in them because it has an important effect on our lives and it comes from their heart. And then Jin is pronounced kokoro in Japanese, but in using the Chinese pronunciation, it's Jin, and this is for heart and mind. So in the West, we usually think of the heart and the mind as two separate things, but it's the heart and mind, it's the body. So really having like a real grounded sense of confidence in your gut about someone or something, and in this case, the Buddhist path. Having a deep sense of security, a deep sense of joy when you realize that it's available to us and it's something that can truly be relied upon. So I've always tried to map Shinjin into various words and phrases. In English, it is often linked to the word faith. And I don't like to use Christian words when describing Buddhism. Faith, it is true, has a very broad meaning, but a Buddhist scholar named Jan Nadia said that Protestant Christianity has kind of won the debate by narrowing the meaning of words. So faith now has been narrowed into Protestant faith, believing in something that's beyond belief, believing on something without evidence. You have great faith if you can just take something on faith. And so this isn't really the way it is understood in Buddhist terms. And I have a quote I'm going to share with you in the next slide that kind of highlights that. So I don't like the word faith. It causes more confusion for me than giving me any kind of meaningful understanding of Shinjin. Another one is it often gets associated, I think, with Zen because they have a word that's not awakening and it's not enlightenment. They call it satori. So I've heard a lot of people say, well, this is just like satori. I don't think it is. And if you don't know what satori is, it doesn't really help you if someone says, oh, a word I don't understand is just like another word I don't understand. So another approach I took, I think it's helpful if we can map things onto the Buddha's life story. That gives us a sense of validity or security or authenticity. So I used to think, well, maybe Shinjin is what the Buddha felt when he went out the four gates and he left home to practice as a ascetic in the forest by the river next to his hometown. That was my first thought, but I don't think that anymore. And then I thought, well, maybe it is the same as satori in a sense. It is awakening or enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And then I thought, well, maybe not. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's the Buddha's final awakening at 80 years old under the twin sala trees. Maybe that's Shinjin. So, we have a lot of things to choose from. Faith, satori, the aspiration to seek at 29, initial awakening under the Bodhi tree, or final perfect enlightenment at 80 years old. I would argue that these are all related, but I don't think they really capture the meaning, at least for myself, of Shinjin. And especially for faith, this is a quote by Roger Corliss from a really good book called Buddhist Theology. It's different scholars debating the value of using Christian concepts and language in ways of trying to make Buddhism more available to Western people. And it was about 50-50, and I was on the no side. But Roger Corliss taught at IBS, at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and this is a footnote from one of his articles. He said, faith is a word with a rich history in Western religion and philosophy, but none of its many uses has very much to do with Shinjin, as used by Shinran and his successors. So this is a trick I use. I'm not saying this. Roger Corliss is saying this. So it gives me some cover. But I agree with Roger Corliss. I thought this was a wonderful quote. I grew up Christian. Faith has a very specific meaning for me. And it's very difficult, I think, for Buddhists to reclaim these words and hydrate them with new Buddhist meaning. And this is just my personal experience. And so we need to find ways of explaining things perhaps through metaphor rather than language. But this is difficult too. And this is what I really wanted to talk about today. In our tradition, we often talk about having a diamond-like mind. And when I think of a diamond, I think of the light it radiates, how bright it is, right? There's clarity, color, and carats, I think. I usually think of diamonds in this way, as radiating light. So a diamond-like mind to me would be a mind of light, of wisdom, of someone who's realized awakening, a mind that is radiating the light of wisdom. And we often see images like this of the Buddha bathed in light. This might be the historical Buddha. More than likely, it's Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light. And so it's normal and right to associate light with wisdom. That's a very common thing in Buddhism. But there's other things about a diamond, right? Light is one quality, but there's also the fact that it's very hard. It's unbreakable. I was watching Outlander last night, and Bree said to Roger, after he lost his voice, she said to him that when your first year of marriage is paper, because you have to be pliable, you have to be able to fold, you have to be flexible in a marriage. But after 60 years of being together and working and solving problems, you develop this crystal hard core to your marriage. It's rock solid. And at 60 years, it's a diamond. So she wasn't talking about the brightness of the diamond. She was talking about the fact that it's strong. It can't be marred. It can't be scratched. It's everlasting. Nothing can affect it. So we're going to move forward, and we're going to look at these different kinds of minds and see how the diamond fits into that. So the 18th vow, if when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me and aspire to be born in my land and think of me even 10 times should not be born there, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So we have 3 things mentioned here: being very sincere, being very joyful, and wanting to aspire. So you could say these are 3 aspects of Shinjin. It's the mind that is sincere, joyful, and it aspires. And so that's what we have. In the larger sutra, there are what we talk about the 3 minds. You can see there that the sincere heart and mind, there's that character Shin on the far right. Joyful, there's that character for Shin again, and aspiring. So these are the 3 minds. I think they happen simultaneously. You sincerely and joyfully aspire for enlightenment. But Shinran and Vasubandhu kind of boiled this down into one mind, a single mind, Ishin, one heart and mind. So this is all one experience. It's not 3 different events. It's the mind that is single and focused. And when we opened today, we read the 3 treasures, and I read it on purpose because I wanted to go over this vow on becoming Buddha. So it says, I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the great path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration, which is to become Buddha. So here we have the aspiration, but what I wanted to focus on was this vow is made with your entire being. You are all in. It's a complete, you move all your chips to the middle of the table. This is the focus of your life. You have no doubts. You're not going to go in, hedging your bets, wondering if, I'll do Buddhism, but I'll try to do this too. I'll do it when it's convenient. It's a hobby. It's a It's something I do in my leisure time. No, your entire being is devoted, and everything flows out of that in your life. And so that's a very important statement of maybe this diamond-like mind, this mind that is single. And then Shinran talks about it in this way in one of his poems, one of his wasans. He says, Shinjin is the mind that is single. The mind that is single is the diamond-like mind. The diamond-like mind is the mind aspiring for enlightenment. This is the mind itself of other power. So I thought this was nice. We tie all of our slides together. It's a mind that is single and focused, and it doesn't budge. It doesn't smudge. It's diamond-like. Now, there's a better word out there than diamond. These are all translations. So we're going to be getting to that. Once I found out this other translation of diamond-like, it opened the door for me to understand Shinjin. And here it is. Instead of saying diamond-like, translators could use the word adamantine. Now, this is a word I never heard of in this form, and I didn't know what it meant. So again, we're taking one word I don't understand, and we're placing it with another word I don't understand. And these metaphors are lost on me because I come from a different background. So we're going to read Shinran's creative quotation of Shandao's use of the term adamantine mind. The commentary on the Contemplation Sutra states, although the ordained and lay gathered together now, etc., each have given rise to the unsurpassed mind, it is extremely difficult to disdain birth and death, and hard to enjoy the Buddha Dharma. Give rise to the adamantine aspiration, unconventionally sever and overcome the four streams, truly taking on the adamantine mind and having corresponded in one thought moment, as a result, one will attain nirvana. So, I think we're hinting at something important here. What does it mean to have a mind that's single, focused, not distracted? So now we're going to get to the fun part. We're going to get to Thor's hammer and Hercules' golden adamantine mace. So I didn't know this, but adamantine is in all the Marvel comics. It's in DC Comics. All the superheroes have adamantine. They have adamantine shields, adamantine hammers, adamantine chest plates. So adamantine is in this case, a gem or an ore, a mineral, kind of a magical iron ore type mineral. So we're going to read about that now. So adamantine is used by my favorite Marvel comic character. Ever since I was a little boy, I've loved Captain America. I liked his outfit. That's how I chose. I liked the red, white, and blue. I loved his full body uniform. I really liked his shield. I've got two of them at home in my closet, and I wear them to the OCBC Halloween costume party several times in the last 10 years during Halloween. So adamantine, or adamantium, the name of the alloy, adamantium, the adamantium alloy used in Captain America's shield is the strongest human-made material on Earth. Its greatest strength is its nearly immutable nature and resistance to being damaged or changed. The process used to create adamantium requires the material to be brought together, shaped, and within a fixed amount of time before setting. So it says here, to be fair to the Olympians, I will also include adamantine, the material of Hercules' mace is made from, to be another mystical metal capable of being enchanted and having its durability enhanced through mystical and scientific forging by Hephaestus, the smith of the Olympian gods. So we have a lot of Greek gods involved with DC Comics as well. So adamantium and adamantine, these are materials that are stronger than any other material. They're immutable. It never changes. It's single, it's fixed, and it's focused. I also was able to find adamantine in Dungeons and Dragons. And I set these these references to Dr. Michael Conway, who teaches in Japan and teaches Jodo Shinshu monthly to the ministers. And he was the one that really helped me understand adamantine as we're focusing on the hardness of the diamond, not the brightness. And that is a huge difference in metaphors. And when I sent this to him, he said he had no idea that adamantine was so popular outside of Jodo Shinshu. So adamantine from Dungeons and Dragons is a rare metal appearing in Dungeons and Dragons. It is famed for its hardness and often used to produce weapons and armor. Adamantine in various pure, alloyed, or raw forms have historically been referred to by different names, including adamantite, adamant, and adamantium. So there is a root here for all these words. And it's a word I should know. To be adamantine is something unbreakable, a legendary metal that was impenetrable, unbreakable. So there is a root to this. This is the definition for the comic books, but there's also a root in everyday language that I wasn't aware of. So the question on the internet was, can a person be adamantine? When someone is adamant, there's the word, if you're adamant about the Buddhist path, if you're adamant in your seeking, you're very adamant in your vow making. When someone is adamant, she won't budge or yield. Anything adamantine is pretty much unbreakable and invulnerable. Adamantine substances also tend to be bright and shiny like diamonds. When used figuratively, adamantine can describe something unbreakable, like the adamantine will of a marathon runner. So, things that are adamantine are bright, but what makes them bright is the fact that they're unbreakable. They're invulnerable. And so we could say now that this is likely the way the Buddha felt when he left home. Maybe it is when he was 29. It was this realization after the fourth gate of seeing a monk that awakened this focused single-mindedness to seek the way. And I think for Shinran, this is what Shinjin means. Once this occurs, then we could say the result is fait accompli. And in Mahayana Buddhism, the effect and the cause are one. So for somebody to make a vow like this, an unshakable vow, the result is contained within that vow. It's one. It is not yet occurred, but it is like guaranteed to occur. So you can relax and live your life. And I think for Shinran, that's most important. Having that first adamantine step on the path is what makes one a practicing Buddhist. And we don't really need to worry about what if we've hit what the Buddha hit at 35 or at 80 or when are we going to reach enlightenment. It's no longer important once we are fixed our life on what is truly most important. So I wanted to read a commentary. Shinran wrote a commentary on the Contemplation Sutra. Now we're going to have George Gattenby write his commentary on that poem, that Koso Wasa number 19 that we read, about having a mind that is single, having a mind that is diamond-like. So this is the way George Gattenby describes that Wasan. We all experience lightning in thunderstorms. When a thunderclap and a flash of lightning occur simultaneously, we are almost bowled over by the sound, and at the same time, see our surroundings with absolute clarity. After that, darkness floods back in, but we are now aware of our surroundings as never before. In the spiritual life of our seeing leaves us permanently transformed. Our significance, destiny, view of life, and self-image change forever. The thunderbolt remains our defining moment. Soon, the sound of the thunderclap and the flash of light themselves fade from memory, but their effect upon us never leaves us. So, the adamantine Shinjin that Shinran speaks of describes, at least as I see it, his sense of settled destiny. So, I love it when everything fits together. He actually refers to Shinjin as adamantine. And so, it's this moment in life when just for a second you see things clearly and you are forever different. You're in a stage of non-retrogression. That's another way of thinking about it. There's no backsliding. You never return to your previous self. The die's been cast. You can exhale and in gratitude say Namo Amida Butsu. So, as Shinran said, Shinjin is the mind that is single. The mind that is single is the diamond-like mind, or the adamantine mind. The adamantine mind is the mind aspiring for enlightenment. This mind is itself other power. So, we have to be really careful when we use our metaphors. So, in the larger sutra, it's stated this way, as we read, the Buddha said to Maitreya, "It is difficult to encounter and behold a Tathagata when he is in this world. Difficult to access, difficult to hear are the Buddha's teachings and scriptures. It is also difficult to hear the excellent teachings of bodhisattvas, the paramitas. Difficult, too, is it to meet a good teacher, to hear the Dharma, and to perform practices. But most difficult of all difficulties is to hear this sutra, have faith in it with joy, and hold fast to it. Nothing is more difficult than this." This is another quote from the larger sutra. So, it's very difficult to have an adamantine mind and to realize joy. And another way of saying adamantine is to hold fast to it. Nothing is more difficult than this. It's rare. Diamonds are rare, but they do occur. And when you find one, even if it's dumb luck, it's yours forever. It never tarnishes. It never fades. It always remains bright, but it's bright because of its stick-to-itness. So I think maybe I should use this image of a diamond when I think of adamantine. This one's still bright, but the focus now is less rays of light shooting all over the place to the strength and power and stick-to-itness of this wonderful gem. And this is why it's worth so much, right? It doesn't yellow. It never scratches. It never degrades. I mean, if there was anything on earth that I could think of that's permanent, if I was going to argue with the Buddha on that life is impermanent, the only thing I could think of maybe is a diamond. It's the only thing I can think of. And it's as close to permanent as we have. And this is what was chosen as the overriding metaphor for Shinjin, this permanent, fixed mind that is single and focused and never backslides and never regresses. So, I believe in this battle, I believe that we'll have to figure out now who won this battle. It's the one who had the adamantine mace. So I think Hercules, I don't really know what a mace is. It looks like a six-sided cylinder almost, fighting against a hammer. But he comes up victorious because he's got the secret power of adamantine. And we all have that secret power. When you dance at Obon, dance with joy. Don't focus on how well you're doing. Be part of your Sangha. And it's just you and the music and you and the sound. And in that moment, I think we can get a glimpse of what it's like to be adamantine. So I wanted to thank you very much for listening to my talk. This is an original first-time edition talk. I actually understand Shinjin now for myself, thanks to Dr. Michael Conway, and pointing out that adamantine is a word you can use instead of diamond-like, and it focuses on the hardness and the fixedness and the dedication rather than light or wisdom or realizing awakening. And so I think this makes this unique to Jodo Shinshu. This is a different focus. We're focusing on going all in, being dedicated, finding a compass to your life, orienting your life that never varies. And your path now is linear. We're no longer running around in circles. We're on a focused path, and it's just a matter of time before we reach our destination. We can sit back and relax and put our feet up and just practice. in our everyday lives. So if you could join me in closing, the three treasures. How rare and wondrous it is to have been born into human life, and now I live it. How rare and wondrous it is to be able to listen to the Buddha Dharma, and now be able to hear it. If I do not transcend the world of delusion in this life, when will I ever attain spiritual liberation? May I, along with the entire Sangha, with sincere heart and mind, rely on that which can be truly relied on in life, the three treasures. I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the great path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration, which is to become a Buddha. I rely on the Dharma. May I, along with all sentient beings, deeply reflect on the meaning of the sutras and gain wisdom that is deep and as vast as the ocean. I rely on the Sangha. May I, along with all sentient beings, become one Sangha of life, able to move forward and live with a dynamic spirit that is hindered by nothing. The unsurpassed, deep, and wondrous Dharma, even in millions of kalpas, is extremely difficult to encounter. But now I'm able to experience and embrace it. May I come to understand and revere the true meaning of the Tathagata. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that you can live a dynamic spirit that is hindered by nothing, just like the diamond-like adamantine Shinjin. Thank you very much. Have a good festival. John Turner.